I'm ready to go.
Go for it.
Yeah. We've got half a minute, but might as well get started. So I'm going to call the County Council meeting of August 29th into order. We're going to start with an invocation, and I understand we have Brandon Hammond from the O'Fallon Christian Church who's going to lead us in that. Good afternoon, sir. Please come up. Yes. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
That would be followed by Pledge of Allegiance, Joe Brazel. Okay, everyone, please stand.
Let's go to God in prayer. God, we thank you for your presence. We thank you for being here. I thank you for all these people here that are going to be talking about St. Charles County, that they are contributing, that they are loving their neighbors and their community. And thank you for their time and their energy and their families and their neighbors and the people they don't know. God, that we just be a people that are for people. God, that we show grace, but also truth to live by in such a way that we love all people with respect and honor who they are and get to know who they are and where they come from. God, we thank you for just your truth and your grace you've laid out and your love, Jesus. And God, we just we thank you for the good Samaritans that are in our society to make St. Charles County better. And it's your name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, please be seated. We'll have the roll call, please.
Councilman Cronin. Councilman Brazel. Here. Councilman Elam.
Here.
Councilwoman Schneider.
Here.
Councilman Hammond.
Here.
Councilman Hollander.
Here.
Councilman White.
Here.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the public hearing with respect to the capital program and strategic plan for the years 2023 through 27. Does anyone wish to speak? This is public comments. Mr. Dienhoff.
Thank you very much, members of council. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dienoff, County Public Advocate. There are a lot of concerning issues regarding the capital improvement project for the next 5 years that I'd like to go through with the council. Let me remind you that we're looking at expending, I haven't totaled it up, but in 2023, it'll be $114.5 million. 2024, $77 million. 2025, $57 million. 2026, $81 million, and I'm rounding these figures off. 2027, $84 million. It's quite a big chunk of money that we're talking about, our money. I wish that the county administration would take leadership and follow the examples of other elected officials like the county collector, the county assessor, the county recorder, who are fiscally conservative and always keep taxpayers in mind before going out and spending our money. Just because you as legislators or the county executive and his director of administration, along with the several assistant directors of administration, have the money from our pocketbooks does not mean that you have to spend it all. There is waste, abuse, fraud, and no-bid contracts that need to be investigated and corrected by the county auditor if you ever give him and allow him the power and investigative rights of subpoenas as detailed in the county home rule charter. I really wish that this county charter would let Mr. Statler run and do his job instead of being politically held back. The county airport, millions upon millions of dollars. Why do we keep investing millions upon millions of subsidies that are tax dollars at the state and county levels? You asked Senator Bill Eigel quietly and secretively to ask the governor for $3 million under the table for a $10 to $12 million to create and construct a levee around the airport. I contacted and lobbied Governor Parson to cut the full request from the new state budget, and thank heavens I was successful in doing so. The hangars, which are below market rent and cost of staff, maintenance, and security, are far in the hole for our county, while rich weekend warriors, including a county councilman, reap the benefits. This airport complex and its improvements will flood once again. It has been routinely and historically valid that this airport floods. But this administration wants to continually, on an annual basis, pour millions upon millions of dollars in something that's going to flood and get ruined. It's just a matter of time once again. Why are we putting good money to a project that will flood and again need to be replaced? It's pound foolish. $80 million in new airport vehicles. What exactly vehicles are we buying? Why do we need vehicles at the county airport when it's a self-managed airport by the pilots? There's nobody in the tower and it's not run by the Federal Aviation Administration. $1,102,000 to be invested in the airport this year. $6,800,000 from 2023 to 2027. Let's cut our losses. Let's close the airport or sell it to a private entity because it's not making a profit and we're getting no return on investment for taxpayers. These subsidies, it's enough is enough that we're subsidizing a county airport. The Juvenile Justice Center, you want to expend $3,107,000 over the next 5 fiscal years. Construction management is very, very alarming. This year alone in 2023, $45,500,000 in capital projects that you want to undertake. For $84 million over the next 5 years. Where's the money going to come from? And what about inflation, the economy, lack of labor, and high bids? May I remind you, and the transportation officials at MoDOT and the county know about this situation, but the city of Wentzville just recently put out a bid out on the street to expand the boulevard, the Wentzville Parkway, and that project was due to come in at $4.2 million. But the bid came in at $9 million, which is a $4.8 million overrun. We're going to see a lot of overruns in the next 3 years until our fiscal economy is fixed. Facilities management, $3,074,000 in 2023 and $18,511,380 over the next 5 years. That's in addition to the $84 million up above. Where exactly is the money coming from? I ask you as elected legislative officials. There's been no discussion and zero debate. Emergency communications. Our 911 communications need to be consolidated from county police, county fire and ambulance, the various municipalities, and the state highway patrol. We currently have 8 or 9 public safety answering points across the county that are costing millions to operate. If we would consolidate, we could save millions and have more spending power to buy the best equipment in the United States. The city of Lake St. Louis and the city of Cotterville are kind of up in the air because I believe that they now contract with other PSAPs, public answering safety points. Let's save money and have better purchasing powers. Money and funding for soil erosion, water management, surface water and flooding protection, culverts and ditches have been a main priority, and citizens have come asking and begging you for that help. But yet I see absolutely zero funds and zero money in the 2023 to 2022 budget to attack and address this issue with either planning, roads and transportation, or to create a surface water flooding protection district. Community Development Block Grant, we need true consolidation and central administration by bringing in the city of O'Fallon, which is costing a heavy burden of overruns for administration, and we would save resources and taxpayer money in the first year. Status of the family arena, I'd like to hear from Bob Schnarr, the former Director of Finance, elevated to Deputy Director of Administration. Because our family arena, we need to see a cost analysis and a return on investment. $4,811,000 to be spent on that facility in 2023. $6,145,000 over the next 5 years. It is a money pit. And I repeat, a money pit. Technology, in the capital improvement budget, it's $3.2 million in 2023, and over the next 5 years, $15 million. And finally, the red herring in county government, which is what to do with our county justice center and Department of Corrections. This administration wants to expend $150 million of our hard-earned taxpayer money to retrofit, reconstruct, renovate the county jail, housing, and recreation complex. I have a plan that for $75 million, we could build a brand-new facility, state-of-the-art facility that would be the envy and the jewel of the nation. We would be setting the bar and setting the example with the latest technology and facility design on acreage of land that the county owns right next to the county police headquarters and emergency operations management center in O'Fallon. Now, the drawback from Mr. Ellman is the courts are across the street. Well, my drawback is the far-reaching municipalities of West St. Charles County are expending an hour to 2 to 3 hours to drop off a prisoner for detention at our county facility, not being out on the street, doing public safety and being in the neighborhoods, cutting crime. So either way you look at it, maybe we should move a few judges out to O'Fallon, to Tom Ginevra, and hold court with people who are incarcerated until they go to trial. So we really need to address that. I hear all these numbers and all this talk, but there's no talk in the legislative branch. So as I said, the grand totals for this year are $114,586,949. And in 2024, it'll be $77 million, $56 million in 2025, $80 million in 2026, and $83 million in 2027. Nothing to sneeze or thumb your nose at. And I'd like to hear some discussion, some debate about how you're going to finance these endeavored projects. I know you have your handout for welfare from the federal and state governments. But let's get down to the reality of providing services, basic services and needs to our residents. There's a lot of waste and a lot of neglected numbers and manipulated numbers in this budget. And I think we need to have some type of compromise and understanding and threshold to the taxpayer. I'd like to know and hear from each one of you where the money is going to come from, where you're going to float the bonds. Are you going to come to us for an additional tax increase when taxpayers of St. Charles County at the federal, state, local, and municipal levels pay in fees and taxes 52.7% of their annual income, and they don't start paying their families until June 18th of every year? We need to put a stop to tax increases and a stop of the windfall of public spending. Thank you very much, Madam Chairwoman, and I'll entertain any questions if you have them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further public comment on the capital program and strategic plan?
I got a couple questions. You mean us?
Sure.
When are we voting on this? Is this?
There's a resolution further down the agenda.
Tonight.
I think during the county executive's report, we're going to be hearing from Mr. Schnurr. So if you maybe want to hold your questions until he comes up, or if you want to do it now.
Well, I just want to talk about on page 19, it's page 19 has elections on there, and they're talking about putting $10,000 a year into the program that picks our judges and has all the information for judges and for aligning where judges go and all their personal data, phone numbers, addresses, all that. And at the time that came up, I voted no. And I'm still not going to be in support of that portion on the elections, just on that one line. I'm going to make an amendment to remove it. We were at the Mike Lindell Summit last weekend in Springfield. There were about 3,000 patriots there from all over the country. And these are some of the things they talked about that's detrimental to our elections. And without getting into all of it tonight, which I wouldn't be able to, we will be having a workshop on this for open to the public to be talking about all these kind of things. So at this point, I'm not ready to, we could always hold it back and add it later if you want, or you guys just go ahead and go with it. That's fine. I'm just gonna.
Councilman, I can speak to that too during my presentation. I have some other
Yeah.
information on that
Okay.
as well for the council.
And also about the timing of our moving forward with this program.
Yes,
Okay.
we have
Right.
to, we need to move forward on that tonight.
Okay. Now we'll move on to public comments. Just to remind you, if you wish to make a public comment, you had to have put in a form to do so. Your comments will be limited to 3 minutes. There'll be a timer up here, and at the end of the time, the buzzer will go off, and we'll thank you for your comments. First speaker.
Arnie Dienoff.
Thank you very much, members of council. My name is Arnie A.C. Dienoff, County Public Advocate. And I'll keep most of my comments for when Mr. Cronin shows up to a county council meeting. But what you heard from Mr. Cronin at the last meeting are lies after lie after lie. I had joint full custody of my children till they graduated and became of age. Both are adults, doing well, doing great in society, and they're married. So what Mr. Cronin said is really libelous. I am consulting with attorneys to bring a personal lawsuit against Mr. Cronin and also against St. Charles County for allowing him to speak deceit, lies, and issues that are not relevant or not true to the public domain. I'm under a different set of standards than he is as an elected official. He needs prayer and divine guidance from the priest in St. Paul and the Bishop of St. Louis. He has literally made me sick to my stomach the last 2 weeks since the last council meeting with the lies that he spilled out into the community. May God fix and mend Mr. Cronin's awful heart so we can all move on as St. Charles County residents. Now, speaking on to the agenda, we have a lot of issues on the agenda where we're spending money outside of St. Charles County instead of investing in our businesses and our neighbors and our friends who are doing business and stirring our economy here in St. Charles County. There's really a lot of questions why we don't make the effort, why we don't negotiate and get better bid submittals, especially when it comes to vehicles in St. Charles County. You know, instead of buying in mid-Missouri, supporting the economy of Boone County, we need to work with Clement Ford, and we need to work with Pubman Ford to try to keep the money and keep the vehicles right here in St. Charles County. The issue for St. Charles County for the collection of taxes, I really don't have an issue with that. I guess that's another special CID, Community Improvement District, or Neighborhood Improvement District, or a Transportation Development District that goes underneath the radar, and residents really aren't notified of the public hearings, and they're kind of like a silent board of public directors who charge 1% to 2% of sales tax and really rake the taxpayers over the coals when it comes to exactly what they do and how they proceed. I've never heard in the existence of these special districts with appointments of directors by various entities. I've never heard them going out of business and folding shop. Let's see here. What else do we have? There's one other issue under the consent agenda that I was going to speak about. and
Sorry,
I
your
can't
time
find
is
it
up.
there. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Frank Rosner.
Somebody help me with the pictures.
Sure. You can just lay them under the, that, yeah.
Right here?
Mhm. Yeah, put them under there, and they'll pop up on the screen.
Okay. Start it.
It started.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Okay, all right, so we'll go ahead. Are you ready to
That
start?
picture's in 1980.
We'll start your time, sir. Go ahead. You want to introduce yourself? You can leave it on there.
Well, I'm going to show you more.
He's got more.
Oh, okay.
This is the water that came through my yard in 1980.
Excuse me a second, 1 second. Sir, can you just tell us your name?
My name's Frank Rausner. I live
Okay.
at number 10 Vicksburg Station.
Okay.
I've lived there for 42 years. I've paid $140,000 in taxes to the county.
Okay.
Just me alone in Heritage, we have 786 homes, just the homes itself, plus the ones at the trails now. We have a lot of water coming through our subdivision.
Okay. Did you want to continue showing us your photos?
And this is a ditch that was, what you saw was only 18 inches before, now it's 5 feet. This bridge here was tore completely out. It was anchored in the ground pretty well. This is the hole that it left. And that is on my property, not the county's property, and not Heritage's property, my personal property. Same thing here. This is another bridge that was tore out. This is the damage that's going in the creek now. That little creek that we had, this thing is 8 feet wide now, and you can see where it tore the concrete blocks out, even though I have them hammered in with poles 3 feet in the ground or better, 4 feet. This is some of the things I've done to my, to try to protect the thing. I put concrete pieces in here, hammered rods down in the ground, and put concrete over it and still washing it out. It's getting worse. In fact, it's ridiculous now. Now this bridge is built with steel. It didn't wash that one out because it's standing up 8 feet high. But that's the only bridge that survived in my backyard. I can't afford to keep rebuilding these bridges, and this is my property that I have to cross over it to keep the weeds down and keep it clean and everything else. But that water's coming down, not just in my area. I live on Vicksburg, but it's in whole subdivisions like this. I know yous are working on a program right now, but it's very urgent. And with this last storm that came through, I've never seen so much water in my life back there. I wasn't home, so I came home 2 weeks later after the water all came through. And then, in fact, I didn't even know the bridge was out until the kid that works for me says, "Do you know you lost 2 of your bridges in the backyard?" And these bridges were anchored in really well.
Your time is up, sir.
Is time up?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jim Rutherford.
My name is still Jim Rutherford, and I'm still with the HRA Residents Association. And taken to what Frank has said, I thank you, Mr. Elman, for your conversation before. It cleared up a lot of the issues we had. John, you too, we appreciate everything you've done, putting the bill forward that will help us. And now we just need to find out how to get it done. I thought that there's a joke in there somewhere about 12 politicians who didn't know how to spend money, but we're trying to figure that out and get it to the right people. And I do appreciate your work. If you could, some of the questions that come up is the status on the scoping trucks that were gone over last year. If you can get that to us, we'd appreciate that. It seems like every time that it rains now, yeah, I know we had 12 inches of rain, and I kind of pulled that one out because, I mean, I've been busy in my business since that happened too. But the issues that come about is every little rain we get, I'll get 2 or 3 to 5 phone calls from residents in opposite parts of the subdivision that are losing parts of their yard or their fence is now leaning and things like that. We're just having a kind of, I think, at a pinnacle or a tipping point of what was bad and what was maybe okay is now going over to the other side and being bad. And the situation is not righting itself. And as Frank said, if you guys can come together, and I know we'll find out where this stuff is, but it is urgent. There's a sense of urgency. There's a couple of the guys, Frank's one of the guys that, when I moved into the subdivision 30 years ago, they were there and established. And I helped him do some of the things in his backyard when I moved in, and it's obliterated. And, you know, I understand that. There's other people that I've helped in the subdivision and personal projects we've done on Common Ground now that are just done for. The walls of the creek used to be like this, and now they're like that and deeper. And it's just, there's just not enough revenue or whatever we've got wherewithal to, we've got volunteers, but we don't have the money to do that. So if you guys could please, whatever you can do, come together like you did on the mask issue where you guys got together, you went through the Department of Education, you went through, you know, the health department, you came together and had phone calls with 80 people on them, and you got it done. And we're just asking for that same type of resilience that you have, and we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Deanna Dothage.
Hello, I'm Dana Doheg with MU Extension. I am back to just report on some good things. I have way more than 3 minutes of good things, so I'll just have to come back. But hopefully each of you got a folder, and in this folder is an invitation to our open house coming up on September 15th, and we have invited all of you and each municipality's city council members and some administration. So we hope that you can take the time to come and visit the extension office and see what all we do. And also in this folder is an introduction to some of our new staff. We have a new 4-H specialist as of February, a new horticulturist as of July, and we also have hired a couple of county support staff. But I think one of the most important programs and a well-known program is 4-H. So I want to read the letter from our new 4-H youth development specialist about just the last few months. We had 443 youth and 147 volunteers enrolled in the program this year. We had a great fair where 200 plus of our youth exhibited livestock and 165 youth had projects in the cold building. Even though we had a rain, a lot of rain, a lot of mud, the youth did their exhibits and they were very successful. Overall, all youth exhibited what they had learned through their hard work all year long, and we consider it a success. Program enrollment begins October 1st, so for anyone that has children, whether they're farmers or not, livestock is not a criteria. Farming is not a criteria. Any kid, I think it's age 5 through high school can join 4-H. The 4-H Council and Victoria Bernard, the youth specialists, are working hard to create new programs, which we will announce later. And one thing that we hope to do, hopefully you will allow us to do this, is we want to bring in, maybe every couple months, we want to bring in a 4-H youth to tell what their project is and what they've been working on, to show you what your dollars are doing in our community with our children. So thank you for that.
Sounds like a great idea.
Okay, we're working on that. So we have a horticulturist, we have a hort line, and we just hired 2 office staff. And one of the things that's in your brochures, I've been passing this out everywhere I go in the county. You guys are partnering with Winsville and one other Soil and Conservation, I think, for your stream care guide. And I figure not a lot of people know about that. And Josh Rivers came to me and said, hey, can you help educate the community about our program? So I've been passing your stream care guide out at every city council I go to. So I'll come back for more next time. Thank you. And thank you for all of you that reached out and met with us to partner with us. Appreciate that.
Thanks for being here.
Lori Nicewander.
On May 9th, is this working? On May 9th, Councilman Joe Cronin called Arnie A.C. Dienhoff a jackass on a hot mic. During public comments, Mr. Dienhoff politely requested that the council reprimand Mr. Cronin and asked for an apology. Rather than graciously apologizing, Mr. Cronin said, according to the definition of a jackass, which is a foolish person, that Mr. Dienhoff is a jackass who wastes people's time, refused to apologize, and suggested that Mr. Dienhoff get used to being called a jackass. And just a side note, there is another definition of a jackass. It's a male donkey. Jackasses are popular with farmers because donkeys bond quickly with the herds they are assigned to protect. They are fearless and sure-footed, making them a superior choice for transporting passengers and cargo down steep mountains and canyons since they do not scare easily. Mr. Dienhoff has continuously and courageously defended the residents of St. Charles County, which you apparently think to be a waste of time. And I believe this definition is more appropriate when describing Mr. Dienhoff. Well, back to May 9th. Mr. Cronin later backed Mr. Dienhoff into a corner and threatened to beat his ass. At least 2 police officers were present, but it was another council member who physically had to pry Mr. Cronin away as he continued to point and shout threats at Mr. Dienhoff. At our last meeting, Mr. Cronin told Mr. Dienhoff that he was going to catch him outside. Has Mr. Cronin been held accountable for threatening a citizen of this county? When Mr. Dienhoff rightfully called Mr. Cronin a liar, the chairwoman was quick to chastise Mr. Dienhoff, but did not once did she reprimand Mr. Cronin for his behavior. It's obvious there are 2 different sets of rules for the council and for St. Charles County residents, and it's also obvious that this council, with only one exception, has forgotten that you work for us. We, the people of St. Charles County, pay for the benefits which you forced upon us that you receive for sitting on this council. You have conveniently forgotten this fact. Is it because you are bought and paid for by the land developers and oligarchs like Mark Zuckerberg? The lack of civil decorum in these meetings is the direct result of your poor leadership. The almighty dollar that you have sold your souls to is crashing along with your imagined power. We are taking back our communities. We are done with you trampling over our rights. We are sick of your constant reaching into our pockets and spending our money on things that do nothing to benefit our county. We have no trust in this council to do the right thing for the residents of St. Charles. If you not only refuse to investigate possible election fraud, you have gone so far as to try to silence us from even speaking out about it in these meetings. We are not going away, so in the words of Mr. Cronin, you might as well get used to it.
Grayson Justice.
Can anyone hear me? Good. My name is Grayson Justice. I live in Harvester Road for almost my life. Ever since the last meeting, I feel like there should be like a policy, or if there is any, for people who are coming to these meetings. During or after public comments, if someone gets a little bit angry and use verbal assaults and heckling to anyone to this council, they get 3 strikes. Once they get the 3rd strike, the county police officers should be escorting them out of the building. If they should keep doing this for each meeting, like say 5 or 6, they're banned from this building. If we don't have any rules or the city council, St. Charles will be an unsafe place to live. Looking at the definition of patriot, it says a person who is vaguely support their country and is prepared to defend it against enemies. A patriot does not break into a Capitol building. It is not shouting, harassing, verbally bullying, and of course, threatening members to this council with guns. I call them nationalists or extremists. When I think of a patriot, I think of someone who is or is still in the military. If shouting, verbally harassing, and guns is going to change the minds of this council, and your children sees this and say, gee, I'm going to do this when I don't get my way, then I got bad news for y'all. It doesn't. It is time to move on to important things to make this council and this county safe and healthy for all people to move in here instead of chaos, ignorance, and bigotry. Where is the peace? Where is the decorum? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Judith Moorfield.
Good evening.
I grieve every time I think of the thousands of young men who lost their lives on the beaches of Normandy in the battle to rid the world of the evil Nazi regime. And the same goes for all the wars we have engaged throughout our young history for the freedom of others, even though many, if not most, turned out to be politically motivated. Our founding fathers did not start the war with England. They simply defended themselves against the ungodly, tyrannical rule of the English government. They were heavily outnumbered in manpower and weaponry, but they prevailed because God was on their side. We have enjoyed the fruit of their sacrifices since this nation was born, but those freedoms have been incrementally usurped by a government that is now drunk on its lust for power. They have unlawfully violated our God-given rights and freedoms, the very thing that was behind the separation from England. How dare any of us take these freedoms for granted? I did not fight in any of the wars, although my family has a long list of military heroes, but I am fighting now through every lawful means available, including speaking at these meetings, and by supporting those who are in this battle also, many of whom are sacrificing their all to stop the tyranny before we become like so many other countries who are ruled by the elite and where the people have no voice. We have been fighting against the suppression of the fraud by those complicit in it. The pushback against those who are in this battle for true election integrity has been nonstop, so much so that the time is running out for us to preserve the evidence. We, the residents of Missouri, have been requesting the CVRs and have been consistently met with resistance, refusal, and total disregard, just like our founding fathers were treated. We have a lawful right to receive election data, but we are unlawfully being denied access to it. By law, they are not required to be destroyed by September 3rd, only allowed if there is no question as to its accuracy. In fact, they are to be held onto when there are serious anomalies and until such time as all pending litigation is resolved and we, the people, have been able to receive and verify all election data. Elections need to be free of all interference and manipulation, and they cannot be unless we get rid of the machines. We have asked you to join us in this fight for election integrity, and you have refused, using the excuse that it is not your decision. You could have joined us by exerting all the power and influence that you do have to help, but you have not. As a result, and as I have said before, we look at these elections as manipulated selections because electronic voting machines are everything but secure. We are in this battle for good, and we will not give up on recovering what has been stolen. God is on our side, and truth will prevail. Thank you.
Thank you.
Teresa Hun.
My name is Teresa Hun. I am a business owner for 25 years in this county. Also, my parents were business owners for 60 years in this county. And I have never seen such disrespect for the public than I have from all of you and all of you. I sit here and I've watched you for months. And I cannot believe that you guys sit up there and I watch you. You don't even look at the people who are talking. That is your job. We pay you to do that. I'm tired of everybody ignoring the people in the county. You work for us. We are the taxpayers. And I would ask you to show respect when somebody is standing up here with an issue that is every bit as important as what you're doing up there. That is your job, is to work for us and to better this county. And you haven't done that for months and months and months. And these elections are a disaster. And everybody ignores anybody who comes up and disputes that. I know that it's because you guys are getting paid by these people. Everybody knows that. But you guys ignore how the people of the public come to you and beg you to listen. You don't even take their stuff in consideration. Whether you're paid or not, a lot of us know that people are paid under the table. It's the good old boy network. You help me and I'll help you. I've lived that my entire life. I'm a 5th generation of this county. I know that. And don't sit there and shake your head no at me, because maybe you're not one of them, but there are people in this room who work for the county. And I don't appreciate you acting like what I'm saying is like a conspiracy theory, because it's not. And everybody in this room knows that. So I would ask that you give the attention to the people who come up here with the issues that are so important to this county, and take that back to your homes and look at your families and say, can I look at my family and know that I'm doing the best thing that I can for them living in this county? Because I don't know how some of you guys sleep at night. I really don't. I'm appalled at how Mr. Cronin, who I know personally for the last 30 years, and taught his children.
Thank you, ma'am.
Pay attention.
Was the final speaker.
I'm sorry. That was the final
Final
speaker.
speaker.
All right. Next on the agenda is the report from the county executive, Mr. Ellman.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, I do have a report. I'm not going to say much, but I had 3 things and now I have 4. John, can you give everybody, we talked to Mr. Rutherford, can you give us an update on DNR and also on the trucks and what's going on with that?
Sure. We've been in contact with the state. We have been waiting for guidance from the state on the funding that was in the legislature been appropriated. And same as we reported last month, we have no news. They are trying to figure out the guidance. It is ARPA funds that they are providing.
There we go.
There we go. So we've been working with the state to try to find out what the guidance is, how are they going to provide the funds to the county, and then the uses of those funds. And we've provided them early on in the process a list of questions of what the funds could be used for. Could it be used for subsidence of the homes? Could it be used for stormwater? How can we use it on private properties, because a lot of these issues are in the backyards of the residents? And we've got no answers at this point. When we call, they're very polite, but they're overwhelmed with going through grant applications that they had just recently for stormwater. They assure us that they'll get back to us quickly, and unfortunately, it's quickly is whether that's a month or 6 weeks, we just don't know. The good news is that the highway department, and John Lyons could probably fill it in if I don't provide enough details, is that immediately we put into service the vehicles that we had. And every Friday, they've been out there inspecting the storm sewers in Heritage with the camera truck that we currently have. And they're finding some minor items, but mainly, I think it's minor items, as I'm looking at John, and they found minor things, little pipe separations here and there, and they're getting those on the list and creating that database to get those items fixed. So that work has started and will continue every Friday with that inspection crew.
Madam Chairman, the next thing I would ask for you to entertain is a presentation here by Sushil Kumar, who's with the SBA and FEMA, and he wants to just give us some information on how his organization can be helpful to our constituents.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Kumar?
Mr. Chairman, can I have some questions for John on Heritage? Since he brought it up. John, on the Heritage situation, the council approved $2.5 million with matching funds of $2.5 million on ARPA funds, right? Is that correct?
The resolution, I don't think, had a dollar amount of what the match was. We recognize that there would be matching funds required by the state, whether that be $1 or 2.5, but that's what the council, I think the bill that they passed
Well,
was, yes.
the senators approved 2.5 million, right? 2.5 million for this project, so and that tells me that we would match it with 2.5 million, so that's 5 million, right? So these folks are sitting here, been waiting and waiting and waiting with nothing happening, and their houses are falling into the creek. So wouldn't it make sense to get started on it if at least the council approved 2.5 million, and if to figure out where that other 2.5 million is going to come, but get started on something? Because the problem that they're having wasn't created by them, and it wasn't created by them purchasing property on that creek. It was created by the excessive rapid growth and zoning and all the stuff going on in this county that's forcing all this water down that creek. So it seems to me that it is our obligation as elected officials, security and safety, and that covers both, and the protection of private property. So we need to take care of these people and not make a lot of bureaucratic decisions that blockade what the action is, what they need.
The first step when you match state funds is that intergovernmental agreement. So they'll provide us the agreement with the terms and conditions. Otherwise, if we spend that money prior to that agreement, it's no longer matching. It's just county money that we're spending on a problem. So if we want to be able to use the 2.5 or whatever that dollar amount is that's set aside from county funds towards this project, as our match, it needs to be spent after we execute the agreement. That's the first step, and that's what we're waiting for the state is to give us that intergovernmental agreement so we can actually find out what the terms and conditions are and move forward.
Madam Chairman.
What we could do is what we're doing is trying to do as much as we can to determine what the nature of the problem is of the public infrastructure that's impacted. So the storm sewer on Summit Station, we did replace that completely after the home was removed that was a year and a half ago. And then we start the inspection program as quickly as we can. And so we'll continue that process of inspecting and creating that inventory so that when we do get the okay from the state that we can quickly move forward. But we need that intergovernmental agreement, that cooperation from the state.
Mr. Gilman.
Yeah, I mean, this is just basic government 101. We were in the opposite situation a few years ago, I think, John, when City of St. Charles did some project spent some money on a road project and then wanted to count that later on towards their cost share, and that's not how you can do it. So I would suggest if you all are in a hurry here, we need to call our elected officials and ask them why DNR can't get going on this. I understand they weren't going to get us an answer in the first week or even the first couple months, but it's been 3 months now? 3 months, and they have made absolutely no response. So I suggest that if you know your rep or senator, give them a call. I'll call Representative Cristofanelli and see if I'm sure he'll do something.
So we need to keep on them, the DNR.
Yeah, and if it is a match thing, we can't spend the money now and then later on say, yeah, that was our match.
Yeah.
Because it may or may not qualify later on.
All right. Can we move on then to our next speaker? Mr. Kumar, thank you for your patience.
May I address the council and the audience at the same time by turning myself on?
Sure.
No.
Yeah,
Sure, you can use that mic.
there's a microphone.
Hello?
It'll come on.
Hello. Now it's coming on.
Hi.
I'm Sushil, Mr. Elman. I'm with the Small Business Administration. Thank you, City Council, folks, to have us here. I want to introduce my colleague, Ray Logan. And our role is to help, and our role being the Small Business Administration, is to help homeowners and renters, commercial property owners, and faith-based organizations to repair, recover, and rebuild. So I heard a few different homes being demolished and so on and so forth, got damaged. We have funds to help repair and rehabilitate and recover. The first step would be to register with FEMA. Do I see a FEMA shirt? No, that's not. Black shirt looks very much the same. And their role is to provide safe, secure sanitary condition grants to help rebuild. Okay? Now, our role, once you're referred over to the SBA, is to give you the hard dollars. And for those folks who feel that they are less than fortunate to have an income to support it, we then refer you back to FEMA after we turn the application down. Some of the common reasons for a turn down is not enough income, and satisfactory credit, and a few other items. But those two tend to be the most. So loan amounts up to $200,000 for homeowners, $40,000 for personal property for homeowners and renters, and for business owners up to $2 million. I spoke to someone here earlier, I think he's left the building. He said that his apartment building, 9 units, all of them were damaged. So we can help with that whole process. Our disaster recovery center is seeing less than 10, 15 people a day. And we'd like to increase that traffic with your assistance. 1025 Country Club Drive. All of this has to happen by the 7th of October. That is specifically the deadline that FEMA has put in place, and our deadline goes hand in hand. So for those folks who are wondering why the feds are here, the governor requested a declaration for the purposes of rebuilding St. Charles County, St. Louis County, and the city of St. Louis and its many municipalities. So we're here because we're invited in. We're here as long as we are needed. And I would really urge folks, I'm a decade veteran with the SBA and have a 30-year commercial banking career, and I can tell you the program works. And if I may quote one other disaster that I had the privilege of supporting, a fairly large-scale disaster downstream with another sister city, the city of New Orleans, and Hurricane Ida. The application total so far is at a gross total of $1.3 billion with a B. We have so far approved here in St. Louis, nowhere near that amount, but the numbers, we want to keep it rising. The numbers as of this morning were 6.4 million. 195 households. But I need your help, and you folks are very engaged in your civic responsibilities. If you were affected, come see us. If you're not affected, have those people come see us so that we can help them, because it's all about making sure that you get the dollars that were required to get on with life. And here's the other part, insidious fact, and I'll share this with you with open arms. 1 in 4 businesses that stay closed for the first 5 days of a natural disaster have a 90% probability of failure in the first year. So those folks that didn't open for whatever time frame the disaster exactly was, about 4 days, even half that, you're contributing to a possible capital allocation and business closure problem. And these folks have their dreams set up. Now, the other part, all of you folks have known what kind of flooding happens all over the country, right? 1 inch of water causes $25,000 worth of damage. 1 inch. So anyone that wants to dismiss at 1 inch and you have $25,000 in the bank, God bless you. If you don't, please come see us. We're here to serve. We're eager to serve. We're away from our families, from way, way far away. We're here to help. And I'm a professional traveler, travel 260 days out of a year, and I'm here to serve. Call me gratuitously. John, you have my card. Council members, you have paperwork that we have shared. Feel free to gratuitously reach out. We're here to serve. As many times we need to come up and talk to folks, we're here. Thanks for the opportunity. Sir.
Can you once again say what your address is of where people can come see you?
It's in the Country Club building. It's 1025 Country Club in St. Charles, the nice building. I think it's Department of Rehabilitation, I think it's called.
DDRB.
Oh, you're at the
Thank you,
DDRB. Okay.
Thank you. It's a nice little turn right there, lots of restaurants, grocery stores, so on and so forth. And we're co-located there with FEMA for one reason. You register with FEMA, and if you qualify, you're then walked over to the SBA, and then they'll take an application, and if you don't qualify for SBA, they'll walk you back to FEMA. So there are 3 pots of money. The initial safe, secure, sanitary condition grants, the SBA pot of money, we covered $200,000 and $40,000 for personal property, and I want to cover mitigation real quick. If you don't qualify for the SBA loan, we'll refer you back to FEMA. So to get to pot number 3, for those folks here, how many here have received an application from the SBA? Nobody? Nobody registered with FEMA either? Okay, fair enough. We're not done our jobs then, sounds like. So let's make the assumption that no one has been reached out. I mean, that's a good place to be. They were not damaged. Hallelujah, right? But if those, so you folks, reach out to your neighbors, reach out to your business owners, reach out to them and say, there is a program to help rebuild. That's what we're here about. In my line of work, I only see two types of folks: not affected, completely affected. So let's help each other to get where we need to go. And the money comes directly from the Treasury. Funding is within 3 weeks to 4 weeks, okay? Interest rates are low. Just to give you an idea, the cost of borrowing for the federal government, 30-year Treasury, 10-year Treasury, is in the low threes, 3.1, 3.2, depending where you watch. The cost of borrowing for homeowners and renters, 1.688%.
Wow.
The average credit card in each one of your wallets, folks, 17%. So if you can gratuitously use those credit cards to rebuild your lives, I would urge you to use 1% money, 1.68% money to rebuild your lives and your home. Now, I heard mitigation. You can borrow up to 20% to prevent a future incident from happening so that you don't have to go back to the feds to get the money. So, Mike, I'm going to use you as an example. You get the FEMA grants, you get the SBA money. SBA requires you to carry insurance. Next time, God forbid, there is an event, all you would do is pick up the phone, tell the insurance broker, minus the deductible, you're made whole. And we can cover those deductibles too. So it's our way of addressing catastrophic 1 in 1,000-year floods, which seems like once every year, and make sure that you're taken care of and you don't have to worry about anybody else stepping in and saying, I want more money. It was somebody else, I believe it was from City of St. Louis Council, who asked me, what do we do? These seem to be very repetitive. Well, you register once, you apply with us once and for all, then the problem goes away because now you're insured. And in every disaster, as you folks might know, insurance policy is your first line of defense. And one last quote, one last statistic. For those folks who feel that, my wonderful federal partner, FEMA, is the end-all and be-all, they will tell you themselves. They're not the end-all and be-all. I'll give you another example from another disaster. 2016, down in Baton Rouge. 7 trillion gallons of rain fell over a weekend. Distance from East Baton Rouge to Lafayette is about 54 miles. Everything south of I-10 was completely flooded, okay? The unmet needs were about $82,000, that's what the insurance need was. The amount of money that FEMA provided for assistance was about $5,400. The remaining came from the SBA loan, state disaster loans, $77,000. So grants were never intended to make a community whole. So feel free to register with them, get the monies that you are owed, deserving, or granted, and then come to us for the hard dollars for the rebuilding, the recovery, and the rehabilitation. I clearly know went over 3 minutes. I apologize, and thank you for your graciousness. Appreciate it. Any questions from anybody?
Thank you for being here, sir. Appreciate it. Okay. Mr. Ellman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kumar. I was actually going to have Mike Hurlbert make a presentation as a follow-up to the discussion we had at the last meeting about apartments in St. Charles, but given the fact that we've got a long way to go here with Bob and Mike, I'm going to ask you just hold on to it till the next meeting. Is that okay? And because we need to get to the main order of business, which is the capital plan. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and ma'am.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Safe travels. Okay, Mr. Schnurr, you're going to walk us through or talk to us about the capital program.
I'll try not to belabor this too much. This is not your first go-around as to what the capital projects budget is all about and the capital plan is all about. So I'll try to stick to the meat of this thing to keep things moving along. So this is the 5-year plan, and it runs from 2023 to 2027. And so this is required by the county charter, and that's all the history I'm going to share with you here right now. One of our biggest components in our capital plan comes from the capital improvements sales tax that the voters of this county approved a long time ago. And it's a 25 cent or 0.25% tax rate, and a half percent of that goes to our emergency communications, and the other is the capital component of our capital improvement sales tax. It generates somewhere in the area of about $13.8 million a year, but out of that comes some of our routine expenditures like bond payments and capital expenditures for fleet and our fleet vehicles, primarily in our general fund, things like that. So there are some takeoffs off of the $13.8 million that total about $9.5 million. The remainder of that, $4.3 million, is what we entertain department requests, individual department requests for when we are putting the capital plan together. Obviously, there's a lot more money in the capital plan than $4.3 million. And this is a listing that you see here of what those components really are. Other than the capital improvement sales tax, parks we know is very busy and has been for quite some time in capital projects in our park development program. Road and bridge property tax deals with equipment that they need to buy and furnishing of new roads and bridges. Transportation is probably our biggest element, and that's from the half-cent transportation sales tax. All the road projects you see around the county going on are from this and are incorporated into this plan. Emergency communications property tax, we have the 911 tax, and we have that other component of the capital improvement sales tax that I told you about a minute ago that services our radio project for emergency radio network, which is obviously a very important component of what we provide to the public. Recently, we've gotten $78 million. A question was posed earlier about where's the money coming from. A lot of the money from our ARPA funds is going to the capital line items that you see in this plan. And we received a total of $78 million in ARPA funds already, and we have until the end of 2024 to obligate those funds. So you're going to see in this plan a front loading of dollars for the expenditure of the ARPA money, primarily in 23 and 24. Tapers off a little bit, and then we get into some other capital projects later on, largely centered on the jail in the last 2 years of the plan. So aside from that, we also have grants that we receive from the federal and state government that are some of the expenditures that you see in this plan as well. So in our overview, I'd like to speak about a couple of different departments. The first one's facilities and construction management, and you see the narrative here. These are largely the routine expenses that the facilities department handles on a year-in, year-out basis. Obviously, they spend more money than this, but these are the expenditure items, largely in maintenance, as you see listed there. And one larger item that's on this list for next year is the Pet Adoption Center replacing the mechanical systems in the two kennels, Kennel C and Kennel D. Big component of our plan is the ESCO program, and I know you all have been briefed on that, the energy savings company that we've hired, Schneider Electric. We've identified a total of projects that will be taking place from 23 on of $22.8 million out of ARPA and another $1.8 million out of our routine capital. These are the other energy saving and lighting conversion projects that do have an energy saving component to them. They're going to be rolling out now. You'll recall that we had some air conditioning problems in this building this year. And we have a boiler issue over at the Juvenile Justice Center. Those two projects have been addressed this year that add to the $22.8 million and the $1.8 million that you see in this graphic, because those projects are largely done at this point. In addition, we do have $25 million of ARPA funding that is going to be utilized over the next couple of years, as well as $15 million of our own capital. Largely to address the mental health needs of inmates, establishing a substance abuse unit there in the jail, making some necessary modifications to the kitchen and addressing some mechanical systems in that building. So this is kind of a rundown of what our ESCO project looks like. And you can see those listed by building essentially in the county. I will say that as far as the family arena is concerned, some of that money is coming from ARPA. Some of that money is also coming from a shuttered venue operators grant that we received over a year ago that allows us to spend almost $3 million of the total that you see here. Here's a couple of our other buildings with the needs that you see there as well. They're all pretty self-explanatory. Information systems is our next one. And again, these are primarily routine expenses that you see listed here. Things that we have to pay for on a year-by-year basis to support the infrastructure and the hardware needs of the county. We have, I think, somewhere in the area of 23 different locations around the county, all have to be serviced and maintained through a very comprehensive network. Security is there, software licenses, like it or not, $895,000 because everybody needs a computer that's going to operate. And then we have some other departmental requests that come to the IS department every year for individual needs, and that's the $469,000 that you see there. This is a rundown of the expenses that are in the Parks Department, and these, in this graphic here, are more of kind of what you see on a routine basis in the Parks Department every year that address their operational needs. They're always repairing and maintaining, and as the Parks Department continues to grow, there's more to repair and there's more to maintain. Replacing playground equipment is just cyclical. Kids wear things out, and we have to come through our parks on a rotating basis and replenish the equipment that's there. So that's more or less an annual thing at this point since our Parks Department is so well established. Blueway improvements is kind of a new one. We're going to continue that effort. It's been received very well, widely used. Our kayak rentals, Ryan is very proud of the fact that our kayak rentals continue to sell out, and we need more. But the improvements to the Blueway, to expand the Blueway over its initial stretch is something that will be undertaken. And of course, with so many parks and so many acres, we need a lot of equipment. The big items, the $8.2 million you see here is for the improvements and the expansion of the amenities at Kinetic Park. That's probably their biggest item for this year, and we set aside money in the Parks Fund every year for land acquisition, should that need arise. Road and bridge tax, this again is a pretty normal level of activity. That's the road and bridge tax is the property tax that St. Charles County taxpayers pay. It's one of two taxes that St. Charles County taxpayers pay to us. All the other money, to clarify a comment a little earlier, all the other money that's paid to the county in real property and personal property tax bills goes to other taxing jurisdictions. But we have the road and bridge tax that funds the maintenance and the replenishment of county roads. That takes a lot of equipment, and that's the biggest line item that you see here. We have a few minor projects going on with a new shed and some repairs of specific roads, bridges, and replacing of small equipment. But this roughly $2.5 million really is kind of the routine annual expenditure that's provided for in the 2023 budget. What's not shown in your plan is really where the meat and potatoes of the Road and Bridge Fund are, and that is the slab replacement and asphalt overlays that are constantly going on around here. That's done on an annual basis. For 2022 and for what will roll over into 2023 is the additional $10 million that was granted from our ARPA funds that the council approved to go toward accelerating the pace that we're fixing. I don't like the term potholes because we're not really just throwing asphalt into potholes that will pop out of there the next freeze thaw, and then we have the same problem next year. This is really slab replacement and asphalt overlays that are giving a long-term solution to the problem. And all we're trying to do with that $10 million is accelerate the amount of work and catch up on the backlog that we see growing as our county continues to grow. Some items that the Road and Bridge has, aside from the things that I've mentioned, is there is a new building that they're going to want to build for $500,000 and the Citizen Serve software of $83,000. Transportation sales tax, that's the big gorilla in the budget here, with the amount of money that they generate, roughly $32 million a year. And that is primarily, aside from the administrative side of the office, that is that's pretty much all dedicated to the road projects that we see around the county that we do in conjunction with the cities, as well as in sharing in this information. The reference here is to the 2023 to the 2025 Transportation Improvement Plan that you all approve periodically, that identifies those projects and ultimately gets spent when everything is done. So with that, that's really my presentation as far as what the overview really looks like. We do have new components in this plan with ARPA, the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. So, you know, there are more dollars in play here at the moment, but we intend to put those to good use and get some of that money rolling soon. So I'll entertain any questions first about, if you all have any other questions about that. Joe, I will get to you in a moment about elections, but I wanted to see if the council had any other questions about anything specific in the capital plan other than what Councilman Brazel has raised.
I got a question real quick. Bob, I think this will probably answer the election one. This is just approving of the budget. So when you actually have a plan, and whatever it is, a jail or whatever it is, and it goes out to bid, it still comes before us.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, this is the plan as to how we would like to roll out over the next 5 years. When we come to you with the budget for 2023, a lot of what you see in this plan for 2023 will be in that budget.
So that goes with everything, elections, everything has to come before us anyway. So this is just laying it out. So
this is a plan.
That answers my question on
Okay.
that.
Yeah, this is a plan. It's the precursor to the budget. And we're operating halfway with information halfway through the year here as far as where we are presently with our capital projects. So as the year progresses, we'll get closer to formulating the budget that will come to you for approval. You'll get the budget in November, approve it in December, and we'll have our pencil sharpened a little better as far as where we stand for this year's numbers rolling into next year, and have more specific information for you. So,
any other questions?
Yeah.
I don't have any questions, but I think it's important to note the fact that some of the things that you spoke about tonight, we've already been talking about for well over a year in some cases, that we've known have been in play and have been coming,
right.
Which kind of speaks to what the county executive was talking about earlier. Mr. Brazel was asking, can't we just go ahead and do this now since we know this money is coming? There is a process that things have to roll through, and it's frustrating to everyone involved, including us, that we keep having to wait to go through this process, and you're waiting on other people, generally speaking, at a state and federal level for these things to be done. But I think it's important for folks to know we didn't just all of a sudden start spending money willy-nilly out of the blue. This is money that has been earmarked for many projects. I mean, just speaking about the shuttered venues, we had to wait on that, and we were last in line because we're a public venue. So all the private venue were in line first. They got their money. There was things for us to get later, but we're recouping that. I know Christine's been trying to get some facilities fixed for a very long time, and folks who were in here this summer when we didn't have air conditioning in this building, and we're trying to get through and just keep things rolling. I think it's pretty easy to see that, contrary to what some folks would say, we're not living high on the hog, and we're not just spending money everywhere. If we were, you wouldn't have been hot when you were at these meetings over the summer. The air conditioning would have worked. and we wouldn't have to put big fans in the side. But I just think it's important to say that, and I know it came up earlier, and we had vehicles that were in here about why can't we buy vehicles from St. Charles County dealers? And I think it's important to point out, they have to submit for us to be able to consider them. And we have gone back and spoken to many of these dealers on many occasions and said we would like to keep the money in St. Charles County. And I know I have spoken to at least 3 different dealership groups who have said, we don't submit on that because it's not profitable. And it's not what we do. We don't do these fleet plans. We don't get into some of these vehicles. We don't have the state contract. So for us to bid on that is something that's going to take a lot of man hours. It's not something that we generally do. And even if we win it, we don't win anything because we don't make any money off of it. So when questions like that come up, people need to understand there's a reason why very profitable dealership groups in our county do not submit on these things, because they've looked at it. It's a lot of time and effort for absolutely no money. So I just think those things need to be addressed and kind of pointed out. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, didn't mean to play chairman.
We do maintain our vehicles in the county, at the county dealerships.
It's true. So they don't get the sales part of it, which is not profitable, but they do get the service part of it, which they very much see as a profit margin for them to keep their garages working. So good point. Thank you very much.
Correct.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, any other questions?
Thanks, Bob. That was
Bob,
good.
thank you very much for your presentation. Mr. Ellman, you had another matter on your comments?
No, that's fine. We'll
Yes,
save
you
it to
wanted
next
defer
meeting.
the one about the apartments.
You want,
to a
unless you
later
want,
time.
unless you want to hear it.
Not really.
Mike, go ahead.
Well,
I was just
Mike
gonna-
spent all this time preparing it.
This is the
Mr.
longest,
Bassel.
the longest county executive report in the history of the county, I believe, Bob, and I
But
just
you
didn't want
say
to.
that many words yourself, so.
Okay, well, go
Mike
ahead,
may have a
Mike.
better offer for the next meeting, so.
Yeah, all right.
Before you get started, I got to apologize. I got to leave at 8:30 because I got to talk with the minister because I'm getting married Friday, and you know, I can't tell the minister no because he's a busy man, so I'll be leaving here shortly.
Okay, well,
Well, Madam Chairman, in that case, we can't
we
wait.
haven't really voted on anything yet. so
We can't
maybe-
wait for announcements to congratulate Mr. Hammond, so I guess I want to congratulate him right now.
Okay, all right, we do have a few things we have to vote on. Okay, really quickly, we'll put you on the 3-minute clock.
I will certainly give it my best effort.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the county executive asked me to put together some information on, about apartments because there's been some conversations going on about it. So real quickly, there are 2 types of subsidized housing in St. Charles County predominantly. The first one is called the Housing Choice Voucher Program. That is what is Section 8. Everybody knows the Section 8. That is a federal program that's distributed through Housing and Urban Development Department. The second one is Missouri Housing Commission, Development Commission, MHDC, does a tax credit program called LIHTC, Low Income Housing Tax Credit, that developers use as a incentive for construction. It helps defer part of the construction cost. In exchange, they have to set aside a number of units for low-income or senior housing. A lot of senior housing development utilizes the LIHTC credit. They have to go through the county executive or the director or administrator, whoever that is, to get approval. And so we'll talk about that process a little bit. So real quick, this is kind of a graph to show the number of vouchers that we have over the number of years. In 2014, we had 19 apartment complexes that received vouchers. That jumped up to about 28 in 2016, and then up again to about 33 in 2018. So it was definitely growing. It was increasing for a while there. However, since 2018, no apartment complexes have been approved with Section 8. So there are no housing voucher programs going into any of the new apartment complexes since 2018. And you'll remember the biggest uptick in apartments has really been in the last 3 to 4 years. And combine that with the fact that the other apartments that were there previously had a 10-year commitment are dropping off the rolls. So we are actually down to 13 apartment complexes in all of St. Charles County that are still receiving vouchers at this point. That's a 60% drop from 2018. So it is definitely not Section 8 housing that's fueling the apartment boom in the county right now.
Mike, on a question on that, the list that we received from HUD and ECAC was 30 apartments. They sent it to us a month ago. So I don't really know where you're getting your information from.
This is from NECAC.
They sent us the list. They sent us the list. It was 30 apartments. I didn't know we were going to talk about it. I would have brought my stuff too, because that's not accurate. It was 30 apartments. It was on that list.
Yeah, I wanted to update it, and that's what they sent us.
Are you saying apartments or apartment complexes?
Apartment complexes.
Okay. I know if you talk to Todd Barnes, he will tell you that what Mike was saying is you have that 10-year window, and what you're seeing is those apartment complexes that have hit their 10-year window, they are opting out and they're going to market rate. So they're not accepting the subsidies anymore, which for those at risk who are in our community are having a very hard time receiving housing because they lost many of the complexes that used to be able to do that. So I would submit that some of that information may be dated.
I was wondering what the time period was. It would be worth, I'd like to see what the time period is, make sure we're talking.
Because community council will give you this exact same information, so you can verify it from another source.
So just kind of a quick summary. So all new apartment complexes that are currently under construction or been built since 2018, none are they're all market rate apartments. And then the number of complexes has actually gone down since that time. And again, on the MHDC projects, you kind of see here, going back to 2014, again, using that as a starting point, we had 1 in 15, we had 5 in 16, 1 in 17, and 1 in 18. And then again, I don't know why 2018, what happened, but no MHDC projects have been approved in the county since 2018. So there's nothing happening with regard from that subsidized program either.
But Mike, when you say housing in St. Charles County, are you talking about the whole county? Because we have no control over the municipalities.
Talking overall the county.
So how do we have any control over approving a housing complex? I mean, we don't, right? Like in O'Fallon, Winsfield, they want to build an apartment complex.
Correct.
It doesn't come before us.
Correct.
Right.
So if a developer wants to build in the unincorporated county, they would come to us. If it's going to a city, they would.
Right, I know it. Yeah, but it rarely would come to us.
But the numbers are for the county as a whole, municipalities and unincorporated. Okay. So again, all new apartment complexes constructed in St. Charles County, including senior housing, are market rate projects. And there's been no MHDC funded projects since 2018. Real quick, kind of show you some kind of what's been happening. You kind of see the light blue line is single family. So since 2018, it's been steadily progressing. There's been a little drop off in the last year, but overall it's been progressing. The multifamily is the darker line, and that obviously has dramatically increased. I mentioned 2022 numbers. I don't have that up here, but 2022 numbers were 256% ahead of 2021 in multifamily. That's to date, but we'll see if that maintains that rapid pace. But the single family's been increasing 14% overall in the last 4 or 5 years, and the multifamily is a 45% clip in that same time period. And then just kind of point out something, this is a median. There's a lot of different data sites, so it was very difficult to try to find apples to apples, but looking at the median sales price, St. Charles County this year is $291. Obviously, that might seem low to people, but that includes all the older housing stock in the county, the start and that kind of thing. And I wasn't able to find the current median value range, but we all know it's going up. And then apartments, right now, again, the median, $799 for a 1-bedroom, $1,015 for a 2. I've looked and seen many apartments that are currently under construction, and you're easily seeing 1,000 to 1,100 just for a one-bedroom.
Yeah.
So the new apartment complexes are way higher than our average. But again, that's a median, and that's including all the older apartment complexes that are in the county as well. So, so that's just a real quick, I don't think that was 3 minutes, but I was trying to, that's a lot of the data that we were finding. And if, yeah, Joe, if you have something different, we'd love to see what you have.
Well, I'll send it to you, that's what we got, but
Okay.
I don't understand, I mean, I understand it. Isn't it also so that if you build, if O'Fallon, Winsville approves an apartment complex, they don't, once it's approved, they can't be told whether or not they subsidize it or get a tax breaks through HUD housing. They can apply for that through the federal government. They don't need to get approval from the city to have vouchers.
That's correct.
So that's what,
Yeah,
so that's what I don't
MHDC has
understand.
the
Yeah,
state.
so, because there's a lot of people, investors, who apply for the tax abatements, and no city or no government, local, have any control over that.
Control over it, but we know what's there.
Right, you could,
And-
but you can't turn, they can't, we have nothing to do with turning them or approving it or whatever. It's just, it's approved.
I did have one more set of numbers that'll kind of show the situation here. So again, this is from NECAC. There is 740 regular vouchers that they have available. There's 79 what they're called mainstream. They're used for veterans and other select groups. So about, it's 830 something, 820 something like that. There is right now 4,292 people on the waiting list.
Wow.
So that shows you the demand and what's available. So we're not even close to scratching the surface of what's actually needed in terms of affordable housing in the county. So just so you're aware.
Very informative. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Okay, so next would be the consent agenda. First, are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I would abstain.
All right. Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have two resolutions to be voted on this evening. The first is a Resolution 2211 adopting the 2023 through 27 capital program and strategic plan. And again, we are not voting on any expenditures at this time, but just to approve the plan that has been presented and discussed this evening. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? I guess you need to read it first. I'm sorry, go ahead and do that if you would, please.
Resolution 22-11, sponsored by council as a whole. A resolution adopting the 2023 through 2027 capital program and strategic plan. Whereas the St. Charles County Charter, Article 6, Section 6.301, requires the county council to adopt the capital program and strategic plan no later than 2 months prior to the final date of the submission of the budget. And whereas the St. Charles County Charter, Article 6, Section 6.201, requires that on or before the 5th day of November or the first working day after the 5th of each fiscal year, the county executive shall submit to the county council a budget for the ensuing fiscal year and an accompanying message. And whereas the county executive has presented the plan to the county council, a public hearing has been held on it, and it has been made available for inspection by the public. Now therefore be it resolved by the County Council of St. Charles County, Missouri as follows. Section 1, the plan attached hereto as Exhibit A, known as the Capital Improvement Program, years 2023 through 2027, is hereby approved. Section 2, compliance with all terms of the Capital Improvement Program, years 2023 through 2027, shall be the responsibility of the county executive.
Is there any discussion? I will call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
We have a roll call.
Oh, roll call, okay.
Resolution 22-11, sponsored by council as a whole. A resolution adopting the 2023 through 2027 capital program and strategic plan. Councilman Brazel?
Yes.
Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Councilman Cronin?
Okay, and the resolution is approved. Second resolution is 22-12, adopting the St. Charles County Gateway Bike Plan update. Would you please read the resolution?
Resolution number 22-12, sponsored by council as a whole, a resolution adopting the St. Charles County Gateway Bike Plan update.
Any questions or discussion?
I would just like to say I appreciate you taking the forever changing climate language out of it and that woke stuff. So I'll support this because everybody agrees with riding bikes and all that other stuff, but they don't need to put a political statement in the resolution.
Okay, would you please then read the title and call the roll?
Resolution number 22-12, sponsored by council as a whole, a resolution adopting the St. Charles County Gateway Bike Plan update. Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Councilman Cronin? Councilman Brazel?
Yes.
Councilman Elam?
Yes.
And the resolution is approved. Next would be, we have two bills for final passage. First is Bill number 5089. And I understand that Exhibit A to that has been revised with blank spaces in the fourth whereas clause and paragraphs 8A and C to allow that ordinance numbers would be inserted. So with that in mind, would you please read the title?
Bill number 5089, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute an eighth amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with the city of St. Charles for collection of taxes.
Any discussion? Please read the title and call the roll.
Bill number 5089, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute an eighth amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with the city of St. Charles for collection of taxes. Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Councilman Cronin? Councilman Brazel?
Yes.
Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes, and the bill passes. Do you have time for bill number?
Yeah.
Okay, bill number 5090. Please read the title.
Bill number 5090, an ordinance amending the 2022 budget as adopted by ordinance 21-098 as amended to accept a supplemental appropriation from the Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development for the budget of the St. Charles County Department of Workforce and Business Development to purchase program-related supplies.
Is there any discussion? Please read the title and call the roll.
Bill number 5090, an ordinance amending the 2022 budget as adopted by ordinance 21-098 as amended to accept a supplemental appropriation for the Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development for the budget of the St. Charles County Department of Workforce and Business Development to purchase program-related supplies. Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Councilman Cronin? Councilman Brazel?
Yes.
Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes,
Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
bill passes. We'll take a moment here to congratulate Mr. Hammond, who needs to get to the church on time. So, good luck to you. We have three bills for introduction. First is bill number 5092.
Bill number 5092, requested by Lori Myers, sponsored by Nancy Schneider. An ordinance amending the 2022 budget is adopted by ordinance 21-096 as amended to accept a supplemental appropriation from the Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development for the budget of the St. Charles County Department of Workforce and Business Development to collaborate with Talent Census to improve connections between employers seeking new employees and job seekers seeking a job or retraining in the St. Charles County vicinity.
Is there any discussion or questions?
I got some questions. Is this, Bob, I guess, Talent Census, so this will be training who? Is it in economic development?
Talent Census is a company that was identified by the State Department of Workforce Development that they would like to look at for revamping the present operating platform that the State Department of Workforce Development uses for their case management systems across the state. They have districts all over the state of Missouri, and all of those districts, including ours, is on Monet or something like that. I forget the name of it exactly, the operating system that they presently utilize, but that platform is not operating well, and the state is not happy with it. So the state has identified this company to engage in a pilot program, and they've chosen us to be the ones that would undertake this pilot program where for a limited period of time, a couple of months, we would be operating this new platform, and then the state then would measure their results and see if they want to move forward with this. This is not our selection. This is a selection made by the state. They've only asked us to be the pilot for it and conduct this experiment, if you will. That's what's really before you here. The $92,000 number that you see is the amount that's being paid over is for the time period that this company's operating. It's no obligation to us from the standpoint, we're not committed to anything here. It's a limited scope type of evaluation also, where they may take 10 or 12 employers and just utilize a limited pool to measure the results of cases that are administered with those companies, and they'll make their judgment somewhere down the line here. So if the council chooses not to accept this grant and not undertake this pilot program, the state's going to go to another county somewhere around the state or another district around the state and launch the program there.
Do you see any downside to our accepting it?
No, not really. Because like it or not, if the state decides to go forward with this thing with or without our participation in the pilot, we're going to be utilizing the program when the state makes its ultimate decision.
Right.
Well,
thank you.
I'm sure none of you guys got on the website and looked any of this up. So like you said, conduct the experiment. That's exactly what it is, an experiment. If you got on there, some of the terms, it's diverse, exclusive workforce, overcoming unconscious bias. That's a term out of Black Lives Matter. Robust LGBTQI policies, diversity. Can you put that front page of the website up there? Diversity, unconscious bias, equity and diversity. Is that the front page, Donna?
Number 1.
Okay, so talent census, consciously beating unconscious bias in the workplace. That's on the webpage of the Black Lives Matter. Turn it over, please. COVID has further ingrained inequities, while social movements like Black Lives Matter and Me Too have awakened society and its imbalances, overcoming an unconscious bias, better for society and your business. This is not training, this is indoctrination, and I will not support this at all. This is a Belfast company, it's not even an American company, and why in the hell we're using companies in foreign countries to train people in this community is disgusting. And the fact that this is even brought before us is disgusting. So I won't support this at all, no way.
Well, it will be on the next meeting for
I know,
vote.
but it's just,
Okay.
I can't believe it was even brought before us.
No. Well, I appreciate the research that you did into that, so
Councilman,
thanks for that.
let me just say one thing about that.
Uh-huh.
There's no training going on here. This
Bob,
is,
you can make as many excuses as you want. Remember, you're
This
not
is-
elected. You're a
and-
bureaucrat liberal,
Please,
so
why
you're
don't-
not elected.
Why don't we
okay?
let him talk? Okay.
Same thing with the other stuff.
Just finish your comment.
I am the farthest thing from a left-wing radical or whatever you just
You
said.
are,
And
you always have been.
Can we please?
Just let him speak, please. Go ahead.
So Lori Myers is here if you'd like to hear some of the, she's the workforce director. If you want to hear some of what they will do, but it's my understanding what this process does is it evaluates potential candidates for jobs without the elements of Unconscious bias is a term that's being used out there that is very leftist, but it's trying to eliminate all the bias from the hiring process when candidates are being evaluated by companies, to make it as neutral and as fair as possible. Now, you may not like that, Joe, but like I said before, and if the council decides not to approve this pilot project, it's really no skin off
Why
our
are they
nose
picking
one way
St.
or
John's
the other.
County,
Joe,
Bob?
let me talk.
I mean, you're
There's
bringing
no
this
skin off
wokeness
anybody's
nonsense
nose.
to this county?
Excuse me, just let
It's
him.
disgusting. You guys, don't you know we're
Joe?
supposed to be Republicans and you listen to this crap?
I want to listen to what he has to say, because there are questions that you raised, and I appreciate that, but at least have the courtesy to let him respond.
So, like I said before, that we can have a part in this or not. It's really no skin off our nose one way or the other, but understand whatever the decision is ultimately made by the Department of Workforce Development in Jefferson City is going to be the operation that we
We'll have
face
to
and
follow
that we have
that.
to use. Right.
So is there any possibility that if we accept this, that we might be able to have some input into how this thing would turn out, or
It gives us some insight,
Mhm.
and it gives us
Okay.
the opportunity to see really what this is about.
Yeah.
And it gives us the opportunity to voice any concerns or
Mhm.
opposition to what
Yeah.
may be coming down the line.
So whether
Otherwise,
we-
we're going to get blindsided by
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
the
we
state
are.
decides.
So maybe it's a good idea to know ahead of time what they have in mind.
Madam
Mr.
Chair.
Allen?
Yeah, may I inquire, Bob?
Yep.
Sure.
Okay, and the chairman anticipated my question. We are going to have opportunity to have feedback on this, tell them what we think of it. I mean, we're not just going to do it and they're going to make the decision. They're going to ask us what we think.
Yeah, I just wanted to verify that with Lori, but yes, that's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, and,
We-
and again, I don't know why they chose us. And if you think this is something that the state shouldn't even be looking at, then I invite you, when you call your state reps and ask them to get DNR on the ball, you also ask them why they're asking us to do this and what's going on here. Well, I would simply suggest, if we don't do it, some other department is.
Well, then let them, Steve. Why are you going to take this nonsense?
Well, what do you think? If this has all the potential problems you think it does, Joe, let me finish. If you think it has these potential problems, would you rather have our people looking at it and telling them how it works or didn't work, or would you rather have St. Louis County or St. Louis City or Jackson County people looking at it, and then the state asking them what they think? So it's just if you don't want to be in the game, well, that's your decision. We didn't ask for this. They came to us. The state decided they needed to make a change. They wanted to find out if this particular approach worked. They're asking us to try it for a while. If it works, we can tell them it works. If it's a big problem, it doesn't work, we can tell them this is a terrible idea. And each of you can be as involved as you want to at workforce development and be out there and watch how it works and whatever. Or if you want us just to forget it, that's fine too. There's nothing, we're really doing a service for the state, and the question is, if you don't want us to do it, to try this, well, somebody else will, and they'll be able to have input that we won't. I mean, did I say anything wrong there, Bob? Is that pretty much the?
That's true, and one other thing is, Lori has told me as well that she can try to have somebody from the State Department of Workforce Development here for the next meeting to answer questions as well.
That might be a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hear from the director.
Yeah. And then eventually, when this whole thing is done, is this up to the legislature to adopt it, or is it something that's done administratively without
I'm not sure really
input?
where this is in the process there. They've identified this contractor as the one to provide this platform, and this is their means of assessing whether the platform is for them or not. So I don't know really what their plans are beyond this. It's my understanding right now that it's just a test on their part to to see if this is a platform that they want to explore further before implementing it statewide.
So if somebody came, we could ask them, how did they choose this particular contractor from?
Right.
Where was he? Belfast? I don't know.
Belfast.
Well, the originator,
Belfast, Ireland?
the president of the company,
Oh, yeah.
the president of the company is from Belfast.
Oh, okay.
He's moving
No,
to
the
the United
company's from
States.
Belfast.
So,
I got it right here on the website.
Okay.
They're from Belfast.
So we could inquire about that and
Right.
how they let out the contract.
right,
so
you can
forth.
tell by the
Uh-huh.
narrative and what Mr. Brazel shared when he
Yeah.
used the term whilst, which is not an American term.
Okay.
He's from Ireland, yes.
All right, so could we move on then to the next bill for introduction, which is bill number 5093.
Bill 5093, requested by Steve Ellman, sponsored by Nancy Schneider. An ordinance waiving certain fees for recycling and building permits for the Cottleville Community Fire Protection District to assist the fire department with a rehab, remodel, and addition of the Fire District Station Number 3 located at 6310 Weldon Spring Road.
Any discussion? Okay, moving on then to the last bill for introduction.
Bill number 5094, requested by Chief Kurt Frizz, sponsored by Nancy Schneider, an ordinance amending Section 605.115, ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, regarding requirements for licensed concealed carry security officer, and 605.140 regarding police officer provisions.
Any questions or discussion?
I'd like to say thanks to the chief. I know this has been brought up a while back, that some companies have been wanting to do this, so I appreciate you taking a look at this.
Okay. All right, hearing no further discussion, that again will be voted on at the next meeting. Is there any action on tabled bills? Any announcements or miscellaneous?
I'd just like to say, if you haven't had the opportunity, it's going on tonight. You can go stop by on your way home if you want. Tonight's the last night. The Veterans Museum has had a great program that's been going on. We're the first stop on a national tour. It's an American flag that is made completely with dog tags of our lost service heroes. So every dog tag you see there represents one of our service members who was killed in action, and there are 50 gold stars on it for the Gold Stars families, just to be represented. We're very lucky to have them make their first stop here. Some of the guys who put this together are actually from the area. So also, if you haven't made a stop by the Veterans Museum, they've done some amazing things there, and it's all volunteer. Nobody there gets paid. So thanks to the city of O'Fallon for giving them a place and making a great rent deal with them. But it's run by veterans, all volunteer. Just an amazing project, and kudos to them for pulling that off.
I know you were out there, weren't you?
It was really cool. They had
Yeah.
some great programs, so just,
You want to give us the address again for anybody who might want to stop by tonight?
man, I
You
don't
know.
have the address,
Okay.
but it's on the Heritage Museum. I'm sorry, the Veteran Museum. I think it's 410 East Elm in O'Fallon.
In O'Fallon.
I think that's what it is,
All right.
410 East Elm. But it's on the Veterans Museum website. You can find it on the front page.
Very good, thank you. Any other announcements?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.